the academic staff of the UST Graduate School, the members of the Faculty Council of the UST Graduate School, followed by the university-level directors of the UST Graduate School, Professor Gresebio Jonathan D. Alejandro, Doctor of Natural Sciences, Director of the Office for Graduate Research, Associate Professor Eric B. Zerudo, PhD, Director of the Center for Conservation of Cultural Property and Environment in the Tropics, Associate Professor Jocelyn F. Agkawili, Director of the Center for Continuing Professional Education and Development. The officials of the UST Graduate School, Associate Professor Elizabeth H. Arenas, PhD, the Faculty Secretary, Professor Camila J. Visconde, PhD, the Assistant Dean, Reverend Father Rodel E. Aligan of the Order of Preachers, Regent, Professor Michael Anthony C. Vasco, PhD, the Dean, Professor Emeritus Alfredo P. Co, PhD, Academician Professor Emeritus Fortunato B. Sevilla III, PhD, Academician Professor Emeritus Maribel G. Nonato, PhD. The esteemed members of the UST Academic Senate, the esteemed members of the UST Council of Regents and the Board of Trustees, we request everyone to rise as we welcome the executive authorities and the honoree. First, the Secretary General, Reverend Father Louis R. Coronel of the Order of Preachers. Our Vice Rector for Research and Innovation, Reverend Father Janel N. Abogado of the Order of Preachers. Our Vice Rector for Finance, Reverend Father Roberto L. Luanzon Jr. of the Order of Preachers. Our Vice Rector for Academic Affairs, Professor Cheryl R. Peralta, DRPH. Our Vice Rector, Reverend Father Isaias D. Tionco of the Order of Preachers. Our Father Rector, the Very Reverend Father Richard G. Ang of the Order of Preachers. The Vice Chancellor, the Very Reverend Father Filimon I. de la Cruz Jr. of the Order of Preachers. And our honoree, Professor Lilian J-Sison, PhD. Ladies and gentlemen, the Master of Ceremonies, the Secretary General of the University of Santo Tomas, Reverend Father Louis R. Coronel of the Order of Preachers.
To open the solemn investiture with a prayer, may we now call the Regent of the UST Graduate School, Reverend Father Rodel E. Aligan of the Order of Preachers.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. God of all nations, as we approach the moment of grace, we are filled with gratitude for your love and mercy in guiding us through our mission in the academe. May we always be reminded of the university's motto, Veritas in Caritate. May we always seek truth and charity in all our endeavors. May we always be mindful that knowledge without love is empty, and that love without knowledge is blind. We gather here today in gratitude and reverence to celebrate the remarkable journey of Professor Lilian Jesus-Sison, PhD, who has served faithfully and with unwavering dedication as the Dean of the UST Graduate School. As we stand on the threshold of conferring upon Dr. Sison the title of Dean Emeritus, we acknowledge your tireless efforts and the countless hours spent in the pursuit of knowledge, excellence, and the betterment of our institution. We ask for your continued blessing upon Dr. Sison as she receives the well-deserved title of Dean Emeritus. Grant her the strength, wisdom, and grace to embrace this new chapter with the same passion and commitment that she has shown through her career. May we never forget the ultimate truth is found in you, and that the greatest commandment is to love you with all our hearts, soul, and mind, strength, and to love our neighbor as ourselves. May we always strive for truth and charity, and may we spread the light we serve with competence and compassion, committed to serve the church, the nation, and the global community. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen. Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen.
We remain standing for the entrance of colors and the singing of the Philippine National Anthem, to be led by the UST Junior High School Glee Club.
silanganan, alab ng puso, sa dibdib mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, duyan ka ng magiting, sa manlulupi, di ka pagsisihir, sa dagat at bundok, sa simula, sa langit mo'y bagaw, may nilagang tula at awit sa paglayang minamahal, ang kisap ng watawat mo'y tagumpay na nagniningning, ang bituin ng araw ng kailan, pamay di magdidilim, lupa ng araw na wala di pagsinta, buhay ay langit sa piling mo. Aming ligaya naman may magabi, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
You may now take your seats. Very Reverend Father Filimon I. de la Cruz Jr., OP, Vice Chancellor of the University of Santo Tomas and prior Provincial of the Dominican Province of the Philippines. Very Reverend Father Richard G. Ang, OP, Rector of the University of Santo Tomas. Reverend Father Isaias D. Chonco, OP, Vice Rector of the University. Professor Cheryl R. Peralta, DRPH, Vice Rector for Academic Affairs. Reverend Father Pablo T. Tiong, OP, Vice Rector for Religious Affairs. Reverend Father Janelle N. Abogado, OP, Vice Rector for Research and Innovation. Reverend Father Roberto L. Luanzon, Jr., OP, Vice Rector for Finance. Professor Emeritus Alfredo Pico, PhD. Academician Professor Emeritus Fortunato B. Sibilia III, PhD. Academician Professor Emeritus Maribel G. Nonato, PhD. Professor Michael Anthony C. Vasco, PhD, Dean of the UST Graduate School. Professor Camila J. Visconde, PhD, Assistant Dean. Associate Professor Elizabeth H. Arenas, PhD, Faculty Secretary. Associate Professor Alan Rodel M. Salcedo, PhD, Chair, Department of Chemistry of the UST College of Science. Members of the UST Board of Trustees. Members of the Academic Senate and Council of Regents. Administrative and academic officials. Academic staff, esteemed professors of the UST Graduate School, UST College of Science, Department of Chemistry, alumni of the UST Graduate School who graduated during the deanship of the honoree, students, support staff, friends and families of the honorees, ladies and gentlemen. A pleasant good morning to everyone. The title Dean Emeritus is a testament to a legacy built in intellectual prowess, administrative acumen, and profound passion for the mission. In conferring the title, we honor not only the past accomplishments of our honoree, but also her lasting commitment to the principles of education, scholarship, and institutional growth. We are reminded of her transformative impact on academic programs, the countless lives she touched, and her enduring influence that will continue to shape the mission of our institution, Lumina Pandit, to spread the light. The book of Daniel in the Bible said, God causes the changes of seasons. He gives wisdom to the wise and knowledge to those who understand. The book of Ecclesiastes, on the other hand, said, there's a time for everything, and there's a season for every activity under the heavens. Before the Advent season and the Christmas season, today marks another season of Dean season. Welcome to the Solemn Investiture for the conferment of the title Dean Emeritus upon Professor Lilian Jesus-Sison, PhD of the Graduate School. And now, to enrich our understanding about the significance of the title Dean Emeritus, including the relevance of the conferment in today's present time, may we now call the Vice Rector for Academic Affairs, Professor Cheryl R. Peralta, DRPH.
The University of Santo Tomas confers the honorary title Dean Emeritus upon a dean of an academic unit with a distinguished career spanning at least 3 terms or 9 consecutive years. Held in high esteem by the academic community, a Dean Emeritus exemplifies the highest standards of pioneering and visionary academic leadership. Such impactful contributions have left a lasting impression on the Thomasian community, from spearheading innovative curriculum developments to demonstrating exemplary scholarship through research and intellectual prowess. Throughout the dedicated years to our beloved institution, a candidate for this honorary title must have consistently demonstrated an unwavering commitment to advancing the university's mission and vision towards social transformation. This lifetime distinction is the testament of excellence, dedicated service, and steadfast support and loyalty to the ideals of the University of Santo Tomas. Furthermore, a Dean Emeritus epitomizes competence, compassion, and commitment to excellence and quality among Thomasian educators. A Dean Emeritus embodies the seal of Thomasian education and the Thomasian graduate attributes, serving a pivotal role in shaping the trajectory of the academic community, faithful to the centuries-old tradition of excellence at the University of Santo Tomas. Such outstanding achievements extend beyond their term in office, leaving a legacy for generations to come. The conferral of the title Dean Emeritus in the present time encompasses a range of enduring contributions which include but are not limited to the following: acknowledgement of the leadership vision and impact. The title formally acknowledges the person's role in steering the institution during their tenure and beyond. Preservation of institutional memory. A Dean Emeritus possesses a wealth of institutional knowledge and historical context, ensuring that lessons learned and successes are not lost over time. Mentorship and guidance. Persons holding the title of Dean Emeritus continue to maintain the responsibility of mentorship through an extensive experience that provides valuable insights to current administrators, contributing to the ongoing success and development of the institution. Symbol of institutional continuity. The conferment of the title emphasizes institutional continuity, which fosters a sense of pride and tradition within the academic community. Community and alumni relations. A Dean Emeritus maintains strong connections with the alumni and the broader academic community, as attested by the alumni present today in this event, who studied and graduated their respective degrees during the deanship of our candidate. And finally, inspiration for future leaders. The title inspires aspiring academic leaders, motivating them to strive for excellence in their academic endeavors. Today's recognition ceremony does not only acknowledge past accomplishments, it is a moment of grace to inspire, encourage, and motivate all of us witnessing this solemn event, underscoring the enduring impact one person can have on higher education. Today, we celebrate a leader whose influence transcends the confines of our institution, leaving a profound mark on students, academic staff, support staff, and the broader academic community. We reflect on her trailblazing initiatives that have elevated our academic programs to levels at par or surpassing both local and international counterparts. As we listen to testimonials of exceptional scholarship, outstanding leadership, and a relentless pursuit of knowledge, we acknowledge the lasting legacy that will continue to shape the future of our university, weaving into the very fabric of our venerable institution. With pride, we welcome another distinguished Dean Emeritus into our midst.
Thank you, Dr. Peralta. To deliver the address of petition, may we call the Dean of the UST Graduate School, Professor Michael Anthony C. Vasco, PhD.
Very Reverend Father Filimon de la Cruz, OP, Vice Chancellor of the University of Santo Tomas, Very Reverend Father Richard Ang, OP, PhD, Rector, Reverend Father Isaias Chonko, OP, JCD, Vice Rector, Professor Cheryl Peralta, Vice Rector for Academic Affairs, Reverend Father Janel Abogado, OP, DTPHS, Vice Rector for Research and Innovation, Reverend Father Pablo Chong, OP, Vice Rector for Religious Affairs, Reverend Father Roberto Luanson, OP, STHD DL, Vice Rector for Finance, Reverend Father Louis Coronel, OP, EHL Secretary General, Dean Professor Lilian Jesus-Sison, PhD, our honoree, members of the Board of Trustees, members of the Academic Senate, members of the Council of Regents, Professors Emeriti and Dean Emeritus Maribel Nonato, Reverend Father Rodel Aligan, OPSTHD, Regent of the Graduate School, Professor Camila Visconde, PhD, Assistant Dean of the Graduate School, administrative and academic officials, members of the Faculty Council of the Graduate School, members of the faculty, members of support staff, guests, students, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. You have to brace yourselves because I have to cover 54 years of achievement in this petition, but I will try my best to present the highlights. The German philosopher Martin Heidegger once quipped that the concept of time is the fulfillment of futural possibilities. The preeminence and priority of the future reminds us of our past, and the past anchors us in our present. The administrative leadership of our honoree, to my mind, followed this trajectory of the concept of time. That is to be forward-looking, but at the same time, be mindful of institutional history to learn the lessons and avoid the mistakes of the past in order to live a meaningful present. If the United Kingdom produced the great Margaret Thatcher, the University of Santo Tomas produced the great Lilian J. Sison. Incidentally, both are chemists with a scientific purview on things and impeccable eye for detail. No wonder our honoree demands high-quality output from her co-workers, but at the same time, enable them to learn how to meet those standards through sincere mentorship, efficient, accurate, and decisive judgment and actions. All these were tempered by foresight, calculative risk, innovation, insight, and wisdom. Decisions are made in defense of the truth, leading to a just and fair judgment. She is a leader that encourages discourse of ideas. While plurality of ideas is respected, it is done so in the spirit of dialogue grounded from the Catholic ideals and social teachings of the Church. Her fierce loyalty to the university is demonstrated by her 54 years of untarnished service to this venerable institution. Her wise counsel and impeccable mastery of the statutes of the university and other documents on university policies makes her a brilliant interpreter of the rules and regulations, administrative functions, its limits, and even the navigational space afforded an administrative position. She empowers her co-officials and co-workers, making them reasonably responsible by not simply passing the job or work, but by setting meaningful examples, efficient mentorship, and practical approaches. She exemplifies what we meant by leadership through example. Despite her very strong presence, similar to that of a force of nature, her motherly care and tough love to her co-workers would always rule the day. She was our administrative and academic mother, sometimes even our perpetual succor. As we used to say in the graduate school, next to the fear of God is the fear of Dean Lilian J. Sison. Her strong belief in sustainable faculty development enabled hundreds of faculty members to finish their graduate degrees. If I recall right, there was a time in the early 1990s that only 25 to 30% of the faculty holds graduate degrees. But through her vigorous effort, this greatly improved to about 60% of the faculty having graduate degrees in the early 2000s, which was a giant leap during that time. And the reform she introduced transformed the university as one of the country's best universities and placed the graduate school in the world academic map. Professor Lilian Sison graduated from UST with a degree of BS Chemistry in 1968. She finished her Master of Arts in Chemistry teaching from the University of the Philippines in 1977 and her PhD in Chemistry at UST in 1989 with the dissertation on genotoxicity of alkyl halides, structure-activity relationship studies with the national scientist Clara Lim Silianco as her advisor. She took special studies on executive education in the Asian Institute of Management, techniques on mutagenicity assays at the University of the Philippines, and has attended the colloquium in organic chemistry at the University of California, Los Angeles. In 2015, she was awarded a special citation by the Professional Regulation Commission and the Integrated Chemists of the Philippines for her outstanding contribution to chemistry profession. She was given an Academic Leadership Award during the 75th anniversary of the graduate school. The only women of faith selected by the CBCP and the Vatican for meeting Pope Francis with religious leaders during his visit in the Philippines in 2015, and was awarded the Outstanding Thomasian Alumna Award or Total Awards given in 2013. She had held several administrative positions in the university. Faculty Secretary of the Graduate School, 1981 to 87. Director for Faculty Evaluation and Development, 1987 to 1990. Assistant to Director for Academic Affairs and Research, 1990 to 1995. Assistant to Director for Academic Affairs, which is now equivalent to the Vice Rector for Academic Affairs, 1995 to 2000. Dean of the Graduate School from 2000 to 2013, and currently serves as the Founding Director of the Office of International Relations and Programs since 2013. As a researcher, she has conducted several studies in the field of chemistry, which were funded by the Science Development Foundation for supplementary teacher material for foundation course in chemistry, by the UNESCO Division of Scientific Research and Higher Education for supplementary materials for the chemistry of carbon compounds, and by the Father Angel de Blas Research Chair for anti-mutagens from Philippine sea vegetable algae. She has also had published in the fields of chemistry, university education, and peace studies. She has provided consultancy work for the Commission on Higher Education in high-level formulation for the National Manpower Development of HEIs and Engineering and Science Education Project of the Department of Science and Technology, both funded by World Bank. She was part of the Technical Working Group on Faculty Development in Higher Education Institution, Asian Development Bank Program Preparatory Technical Assistance, the first technical panel for Science and Mathematics, Commission on Higher Education, and member screening committee for Panasonic Scholarship, and member screening committee for DAAD Scholarship. Highlights of her community and extension involvement includes President, Religions for Peace Philippines, Secretary General, Religions for Peace Philippines, Member, Standing Commission on Interreligious Education, Religions for Peace International, Co-President, Religions for Peace Asia, Member, Executive Council, Religious for Peace Asia, Chair, Asia Pacific Women of Faith Network, Member, International Women's Coordinating Council, Global Network of Women of Faith, Religions for Peace International, Board Member, Soul Peace Education Center. Member, Executive Steering Committee of ICUSTA. Member, Research Planning Committee of ASIACU, and Secretary General of International Council of the Universities of St. Thomas Aquinas, or ICUSTA. Dr. Sison has traveled extensively in foreign countries throughout her career. She had speaking engagements on various topics on university education, religious dialogue, women empowerment, internationalization, environmental protection, and peace advocacy. As the Dean of the Graduate School, she has restructured the curricula to make the programs more research-intensive with the introduction of mandatory course in research colloquium for thesis and dissertation. She has also expanded the graduate program offerings to include master's degree programs in the following fields: cultural heritage studies, food science, creative writing, communication, bioethics, theology major in social pastoral communication, business administration major in entrepreneurship, education major in curriculum and instruction, fine arts, health professions education, physical therapy, and the Doctor of Education major in curriculum and instruction program. Professional track non-thesis master's degree programs for faculty scholars teaching general education subjects were also offered in the areas of teacher and science education, social sciences, business and management, in response to the CHED Higher Education Development Project Faculty Development Program and the need of the business and industry sectors. The graduate school also served as training center for DOST SEI scholars and DepEd teachers of math and science assigned in Region 4A. Under her leadership, the following extension centers were established in the graduate school: the Psychotrauma Clinic, the first and only clinic in the country that offers counsel to people with mental health concerns; the CCPET, or Center for Conservation of Cultural Property and Environment in the Tropics; the Center for Continuing Professional Education, or CCPED. Furthermore, she continued the quest for program excellence with the PACOCOA accreditations of several master's degree programs granted Level 3 reaccredited status. She also initiated and supervised the renovation and transfer of the graduate school from the junior high school building to the Thomas Aquinas Research Complex, the current domicile of the graduate school, and has also facilitated the delivery of a master's program in rehabilitation science in partnership with the University of South Australia. She has also organized and hosted international conferences, among them the Asian Assembly of Religions for Peace in 2008, with more than 400 international participants coming from 30 countries, representing various faith traditions in Asia, and the International Conference on Ethics in Science and Technology in 2011 with a keynote address by the 1986 Nobel laureate in chemistry, Professor Yuan Che Li. For student activities, for the first time in the life of the graduate school, students in the business cluster regularly participated in sports fellowship, events organized by AIM, DLSU, UST, and the Ateneo. Internationalization academic trips were organized for the various student immersion in Europe, Japan, and Southeast Asia. In 2001, the graduate school was also the first to implement the concept of agape and cultural program presentation with students and faculty, sharing the traditional street food Filipino delicacies at Christmas time. As the Dean, she always emphasized the importance of customer satisfaction and has always strived to make students find it worthwhile to be a graduate school student. In her years at the Office of Academic Affairs and Research, where she served as assistant to the rector, she established the institutional structure and guidelines for research at UST, recommended the separation of research from the Office of Academic Affairs, conceptualized and implemented faculty development programs which resulted in the substantial improvement of the faculty profile in the various fields of natural sciences, social sciences, health sciences, engineering, and education. She assumed responsibility in setting up the infrastructure at UST to access digital information and communication technologies and represented UST in the academe-government industry linkage that established the PHNet and the opening of the country to the electronic highway. She also established collaboration with the University of Western Australia for the delivery of offshore master's program in education management, resulted in the graduation of about 20 faculty members, some who eventually became deans, principals, faculty secretaries, and directors in the university. She introduced reforms on instructional standards, such as reducing class size and training of faculty on pedagogy and the writing of learning materials. With the agreement and project grant from USAID, the development of the Miguel de Benavides Library on digital technology and the training of the head librarian and librarians were undertaken. All these bore fruit as it improved the quality perception of UST, and for the first time, the university was ranked among the top-tier universities in the Asia Week survey on the top universities in Asia. Presently, as the founding director of ORIP, she established the system, structure, and operations of the office. She has helped enhance the visibility of UST in the global community through intensive campaigns on partnerships, collaboration, and networking. In her tenure, she has identified and implemented the internationalization programs such as student mobility, faculty exchanges, transnational education, and transnational research, and internationalization at home. As a result, UST received 5 stars on internationalization in the QS rankings. With more than 40 years as university administrator, more than 45 years as academic staff of the university, and a total of 54 years of impeccable service to this venerable institution. Dean Professor Dr. Lilian Jesus-Sison rose from the ranks as an instructor in 1969 to becoming full professor in 1994, and is now known in the Thomasian community as the Dean for all seasons and the quintessential administrator. In view of the foregoing reasons, I wish to petition the Very Reverend Father Dr. Richard G. Ang of the Order of Preachers, Rector Magnificus of the Pontifical and Royal University of Santo Tomas, the Catholic University of the Philippines, to grant upon Dean Professor Lilian J. Sison, PhD, the title Dean Emeritus in accordance with the rules and conditions established for the purpose by the Commission on Higher Education of the Republic of the Philippines, and henceforth be entered among the Dean Emeriti of this university, effective 24th of November in the year of our Lord, 2023. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean Vasco. To deliver the address of concession is the Rector of the University of Santo Tomas, the Very Reverend Father Richard G. Ang of the Order of Preachers.
Very Reverend Father Filemon I. de la Cruz, Jr., OP, Vice Chancellor, members of the UST Board of Trustees, the Council of Regents, Academic Senate, academic and administrative officials and guests, our dear honoree Dr. Lilian J-Sison, PhD, and her family and relatives, good morning. They say good things come in threes. On two separate occasions this academic year, the university conferred the Doctor of Commerce, honoris causa, and Professor Emeritus recognitions to two exemplary Thomasians. As the saying suggests, the third time's a charm. Today is that charm when the university chooses to award the third prestigious recognition of Dean Emeritus to Professor Dr. Lilian J-Sison. Apart from everything that Dean Vasco cited about her significant accomplishments as Dean of the Graduate School from 2000 to 2023, the university also recognizes the qualities that make her the best qualified candidate for Dean Emeritus. A lady who gets the job done is a person who speaks not just with words, but with relentless determination and fruitful action. Aside from serving as dean for over a decade, she has held various key positions in the university. She has made a mark in every assignment that will keep her leadership and management footprint. She is an administrator emeritus. She is an intellectual powerhouse who keeps pushing the boundaries of thought and assisting others to reach their full potentials. She has spent, indeed, more than 30 years in academic development, leading and managing diverse portfolios from research, curricular reforms, faculty development, internationalization, and feasibility studies for branch campuses. The fruits of the development projects she initiated solidified UST's reputation. She has also provided consultancy work for the Commission on Higher Education in high-level policy formulation. A lady who does not wait for opportunities, she creates them. She is a reliable producer of positive results. As Dean of the Graduate School from 2000 to 2013, she created opportunities for graduate students to present the research output at international conferences and research by initiating a mandatory course in Research Colloquium. It gives graduate students a chance to expand their knowledge base by learning from student research presentations outside their academic discipline. Among her significant legacy as Dean of the Graduate School during her term is the creation of 3 extension centers. Aware of training graduate students in social responsibility and their potential to contribute to society, she was instrumental for the psychotrauma clinic, for the CCPET, for the CCPED, and for other departments in the graduate school, as mentioned by Dean Vasco. Professor Sison is also an architect and weaver of sustainable collaborations. Throughout her journey as an academic and administrative official spanning over 4 decades, she was instrumental in building alliances and networks for the university. As a founding director of international relations and programs at the University of Santo Tomas, she expanded the influence and reach of the university globally through an intensive campaign of pursuing international alliances, partnerships, and networks. If she has a new title, the Dean of All Seasons, I would like to add another title, Madam Internationalization. A paragon of strength, resilience, and commitment, this feisty lady is the paragon of strength, resilience, and commitment, a person whose satisfaction comes from achieving her goals. She exemplifies integrity, and her actions align with her deeply held values. She is a strong advocate of a culture of peace and a champion of children and women's rights, and has actively served as president for Religions for Peace Philippines. Dean Sison has been with the university since 1969, the year when Apollo 11 landed on the moon. The year when, I was 1 year old. So I really have full respect for you, Dean. When she started teaching as a chemistry instructor, she may not be as young and agile as before because she was telling me just a while ago, parang pagod siya at parang tinatanong nga niya ako, nagawa ko ba ang lahat ng mga binabanggit ni Dean Vasco? Ang sabi ko sa kanya, nagawa po ninyo, maaring nakalimutan lang ninyo. She is one exceptional person whose radiance grows brighter over time. Her wisdom and influence expand with age. The university is grateful for having been blessed with a remarkable administrator like her. One time she came into my office without any appointment, but I did accept her, no? And she was telling me a lot of things. Father, kailangan nating gawin ito. Ito ang latest trends. Kailangan nating gawin ito para matulungan natin ang university, para mas lalong umangat pa tayo. Ang sabi ko sa kanya, kaya hindi ka maaaring mag-retire at hindi ka makapag-retire, marami ka pang gagawin dahil sa mga sinasabi po ninyo. It is my honor and privilege as Rector of the Pontifical Royal and Catholic University to accede to the petition of Dean Professor Dr. Michael Anthony C. Vasco to confer the title Dean Emeritus to Professor Lilian J. Sison, PhD.
Thank you, Father Rector. We now come to the most important and solemn part of the ceremony, the conferment of the title Dean Emeritus. The ceremony will include the following. First, the imposition of the hood. Second, the reading of the formula for the presentation of the Dean Emeritus cap. Third, the imposition of the Dean Emeritus cap. Fourth, the presentation and placement of the Dean Emeritus ring. Fifth, the imposition of the Dean Emeritus medallion. And sixth, the reading and awarding of the certificate. And now, may we request the Father Rector, the Vice Rector for Academic Affairs, the Dean of the UST Graduate School, and the Chair of the UST Department of Chemistry to come forward and assist in the conferment rite. We also request the Honorary Professor Lilian J. Sison, PhD, to come forward. We invite on stage the daughter of the Honorary, Dr. Christine Sison Sese, to witness the conferment rites.
By virtue of the authority vested upon me by the Holy See, the Commission on Higher Education of the Republic of the Philippines, and the statutes of the Pontifical and Royal University of Santo Tomas, the Catholic University of the Philippines, I, Richard G. Ang, of the Order of Preachers, Rector of the same university, hereby elect, appoint, and constitute you Dean Emeritus, and grant you the power and faculty of ascending and occupying the Dean Emeritus Cathedra, and of wearing its prestigious insignia while lecturing, teaching, interpreting, expounding, and explaining in the field of your expertise in public. Furthermore, I grant you all the privileges, indults, honors, and graces that deans emeriti of similar stature in other universities are traditionally given, so that fully and meritoriously, here and everywhere, you too may enjoy them. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
Thank you, Dr. Peralta and Dean Basco. May we request the Father Vice Rector and the Assistant Dean of the UST Graduate School to assist the Father Rector.
Accept this signet ring as a sign of your spousal and of the union between you and wisdom as your beloved spouse. Accept the testimonial of wisdom so that you may freely and publicly teach others.
Let us offer a round of applause to our honoree. Thank you, Father Rector. Thank you, Father Vice Rector, Assistant Dean Visconde, Dr. Salcedo, and her honoree, and her daughter, Dr. Sese. You may now return to your respective seats for the reading of the certificate. May we now request Professor Camila J. Visconde, PhD, Assistant Dean of the UST Graduate School, to read the text of the certificate.
The certificate for the title of Dean Emeritus for Professor Lilian J. Sison, PhD, reads as follows. We, the undersigned, Father Filemon I. de la Cruz, Jr., from the Order of Preachers, Vice Chancellor of the Pontifical and Royal University of Santo Tomas, the Catholic University of the Philippines, and Father Richard G. Ang of the Order of Preachers, Rector of the same university, do hereby proclaim that whereas she held several administrative positions in the university, beginning as a faculty secretary of the graduate school from 1981 to 1987, director for faculty evaluation and development, 1987 to 1990, assistant to director for academic affairs and research, 1990 to 1995, assistant to director for academic affairs, 1995 to 2000, dean of the graduate school, 2000 to 2013, and currently serves as a founding director of the Office of International Relations and Programs. Whereas, she has also provided consultancy work for the Commission on Higher Education in high-level policy formulation, for the National Manpower Development for HEIs, and the Engineering and Science Education Project of the Department of Science and Technology, both funded by the World Bank. She was part of the Technical Working Group on Faculty Development in Higher Education Institution, Asian Development Bank Program Preparatory Technical Assistance from August 2000 to 2005, the first technical panel for Science and Mathematics, Commission on Higher Education, from 1994 to 2004, member of the Screening Committee of the Panasonic Scholarship in Japan, 2007 to 2010, member of the Screening Committee DAAD Scholarship in Germany, 1995 to 2000. Whereas, as Dean of the Graduate School, she has restructured the curricula to make the programs more research-intensive with the introduction of mandatory course in research colloquium for thesis and dissertations. She also expanded the graduate program offerings to include the master degree programs in cultural heritage studies, food science, creative writing, communication, bioethics, theology major in social pastoral communication, business administration major in entrepreneurship, education major in curriculum and instruction, fine arts, health profession education, physical therapy, and the Doctor of Education major in curriculum and instruction program. Professional track non-thesis master's degree programs for faculty scholars teaching general education subjects were also offered in the areas of teacher and science education, social sciences, business and management in response to the CHED Higher Education Development Project, faculty development program in the need of business and industry sectors. The graduate school also served as a training center for DOST SEI scholars, where DepEd teachers of math and science assigned in Region 4A. Under her leadership, the following extension centers were established in the graduate school: the Psychotrauma Clinic, the first and only clinic in the country that offers help and counsel to people with mental health concerns; the Center for Conservation of Cultural Property and Environment in the Tropics, or CCCPET; the Heritage and Conservation and Sustainable Development Unit of the university; and the Center for Continuing and Professional Education, or CCPED, the unit that provides short-term certification courses, training, and workshops responsive to the needs of diverse groups of professions. Furthermore, she continued the quest for program excellence with the PACOCOA accreditations, with several master's programs granted Level 3 accreditation status. She also initiated and supervised the renovation and transfer of the graduate school from the junior high school building to the Thomas Aquinas Research Complex, or TARC, the current domicile of the graduate school. She She also facilitated the delivery of the Master's Program in Rehabilitation Science in partnership with the University of South Australia, or UNISA. Whereas in her 10 years in the Office of Academic Affairs and Research, where she served as the assistant to the Rector, she established the institutional structure and guidelines for research at UST and recommended the separation of research from the Office of Academic Affairs. She also conceptualized and implemented faculty development programs, which resulted in the substantial improvement of the faculty profile in the fields of natural sciences, allied health sciences, engineering, and education. She assumed responsibility in setting up the infrastructure at UST to access digital information and communication technologies, and represented UST in the academe, government, industry linkage that established the PHNet and the opening of the country to the electronic highway. She also established collaboration with the University of Western Australia, or UWA, the delivery of the Offshore Master's Program in Educational Management resulted in the graduation of 20 faculty members, some who eventually became deans, principals, faculty secretaries, and directors in the university. She introduced reforms on instructional standards, such as reducing the class size and the training of faculty on pedagogy and the writing of learning materials. She has conducted management workshops for deans, assistant deans, and faculty secretaries, and has supervised the implementation of faculty reclassification and promotions, and mediated in disputes with the faculty at UST. With the agreement and project grant from USAID, the development of the Miguel de Benavides Library on digital technology and the training of the head librarian and librarians were undertaken. All these efforts bore fruit as it improved the quality perception of UST, and for the first time, the university was ranked among the top-tier universities in the Asia Week survey on the top of universities in Asia. Whereas as founding director of OIRP, she established the system, structure, and operations of the office. She has helped enhance the visibility of UST in the global community through intensive campaigns on partnerships, collaboration, and networking. In her tenure, she has identified and implemented the internationalization programs such as student mobility, faculty exchanges, transnational education, and transnational research and internationalization at home. And as a result, UST received 5 stars on internationalization in the QS ranking. Wherefore, by virtue of these and her many other achievements, and by the virtue of the authority granted by the Holy See, the Commission on Higher Education of the Philippines, and the statutes of the Pontifical and Royal University of Santo Tomas, the Catholic University of the Philippines, we deem it worthy to confer upon Professor Lilian J-Sison, PhD, the title of Dean Emeritus, and by these presents, we do hereby certify that she has been unanimously so endorsed by the Academic Senate of the University. In witness whereof, we have hereunto set our hands, and our Secretary General has hereunto affixed his signature and the seal of the University so attesting. Given in Manila, Philippines, at the University of Santo Tomas, this 24th of November in the year of our Lord, 2023. Attested by Father Louis R. Coronel OP, EHL, Secretary General, Father Richard G. Ang OP, PhD, Rector, and Father Filemon I. de la Cruz OP, STHL, Vice Chancellor.
Thank you, Assistant Dean Visconde. May we now call the Father Vice Chancellor, the Father Rector, and the Dean of the UST Graduate School, the Chair of the UST College of Science Department of Chemistry, and our honoree for the awarding of the certificate.
ascend the cathedra and occupy it. As Dean Emeritus, may you fully understand the depth of your field of expertise, administrative acumen, and profound passion for the mission, and interpret and share it accordingly to others.
Thank you very much, Father Rector, Father Vice Chancellor, Dean Basco, Dr. Salcedo, and our honoree, to provide a visual narrative that captures the essence of the contributions and experiences of our beloved Dean Emeritus. Let us now direct our attention to the screen for the audiovisual presentation. And now, esteemed members of the Thomasian community, joining the ranks of Reverend Father Dr. Ciriaco Pedrosa OP of the College of Science, Dr. Roberto Concepcion of the Faculty of Civil Law, Dr. Carmen G. Canapi of the College of Science, Professor Conchita T. Maceda of the College of Nursing, Dr. Magdalena A. Villaba of the Faculty of Arts and Letters and Graduate School, Dr. Amado L. Di Mayuga of the Faculty of Civil Law, Dr. Norma B. Lerma of the Faculty of Pharmacy, Dr. Lourdes J. Custodio of the College of Education, among others who are recognized as Decani Emeriti Universitati Sancte Tome, to deliver her address of acceptance. It is my honor and privilege to introduce the quintessential administrator, the Madame Internationalization, the Dean for all seasons, Dean Emeritus, Professor Dr. Lilian J-Sison of the University of Santo Tomas.
Kanino ito? Thank you very much. Ayaw ko sana yung mga ganitong okasyon kasi nakaka-tension. So actually, the weather is not really kind to me now. I had the onset of asthma and my allergies. So I hope you will bear with me with this. Initially, my speech will talk about my journey here. But many of what I have said were already mentioned by Dean Basco and Father. So my years of service in the university, 54 years. And if I devote 1 minute per year, the speech will, of course, you understand, it will go this long. But as I have said, it will significantly shrink because most of the things were already said. What I wrote here is my personal journey as an administrator. I will not make a litany of what I have accomplished, but I will share with you how I work with the rectors that I have served for the past 45 years. Okay. So Reverend Father Philemon de la Cruz, the Vice Chancellor and Prior of the Dominican Order, and Father Richard Ang, our Rector Magnificus, our Reverend Vice Rectors and the members of the Council of Regents, Dean Michael Basco, and the members of the Academic Senate, my co-administrators, their faculty, and students, and of course, my non-academic staff. My professional journey at UST began in 1969 as an instructor in the Department of Chemistry, College of Science. The first 10 years of my career were devoted to teaching, handling laboratory courses from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. And also to the service of the chemistry profession. As a young professional, I was active in various chemistry organizations and held positions like Vice President of the Federation of Chemistry Societies, the Treasurer of the Kapisanan ng mga Kimiko sa Pilipinas, Secretary of the Organic Chemistry Teachers Association, and board member of this and that. We did our outreach for the chemistry profession in the form of training teachers, training college teachers in the teaching of modern organic chemistry, the molecular approach in teaching chemistry, and then the emerging course on environmental chemistry. So we did our outreach during summer and term breaks, traveling all over the country, from Zamboanga to Cebu to Bicol. One of the highlights of my service to the chemistry profession was chairing the National Chemistry Congress, the first time it went 5-star at the Bacolod Convention Center. Later on, I was given an appointment by the Commission on Higher Education as a pioneer member of the Technical Panel for Science and Math. Then came an offer by the National Science Development Board for a scholarship in Master of Chemistry teaching at the University of the Philippines. My return service contract was to serve the UST Regional Staff Development Center and coordinate the training of public high school teachers of chemistry coming from Regions 4 and Regions 4A. So for the next 3 years, I spent my summer days taking trips into the hinterlands of Marinduque, Mindoro, and Quezon, training high school chemistry teachers. The experience was very edifying, encountering authentic Filipino hospitality among the local folks, and a glimpse of pristine beauty of nature. I'm an environmental chemist, so I easily appreciate these things. So we would take our run trips, sometimes crossing evergreen rainforest, riverbeds and glistening streams, paddy fields, and stunning mountain ranges. The appreciation and gratitude we saw in the teachers and the members of the community was enough to melt one's heart. So those were the activities that took my first 10 years at UST. In 1981, a new phase in my career at UST took form. My life as an administrator began when Father Frederick Fermin, then Rector, appointed me Faculty Secretary of the Graduate School. Dean Carmen Canapi was the dean at the time. But a year after a new rector was installed, Father Norberto Castillo, OP, a chemist priest and a very dear friend of Professor Emeritus Fortunato Sevilla, and myself, Father Castillo transferred Dean Canapi to the College of Science. Dean Canapi wanted to bring me along as her assistant dean. But the newly appointed dean of the graduate school, Father Paul Swanepoel, a Belgian priest, did not want to release me from the graduate school, and Father Castillo talked me out into staying in the graduate school. And so I stayed on as faculty secretary for the next 7 years. But within those 7 years, Father Castillo gave me another appointment, that of Director of Faculty Evaluation and Development in charge of faculty promotion. So I held 2 concurrent positions at the same time, working on my dissertation. Father Castillo did not know many people at UST when he assumed directorship. So he relied heavily on his chemist friends to assist him in his rectorship. Regretfully or fortunately, Dr. Sevilla had to leave for UK for his PhD scholarship. In my case, I was working on my PhD at UST, but had the chance for a British Council grant for a sandwich program where I can do part of my dissertation in UK. Father Castillo did not allow me to leave UST. Second time. So he said, umalis na si Fortune, alis ka pa. Sabi. So actually, I considered that as a big blow to my scientific career. The new rector sought my help in many of his projects. Father Castillo had the right vision for a university. He wanted to reinvigorate the intellectual life at UST by focusing on research, the library, and raising funds as incentives for the productive faculty in the form of professorial and research chairs. However, faculty productivity in the 1980s was at rock bottom, and there were faculty unrest in many of the campuses. So the rector was obsessed with research, and he wanted to mainstream research in the operations of the university. However, while there existed a small research center at the clinical division of the hospital, we could not find any document, not even in the statutes, which states that research is a function of the university. So, in the absence of a document, the rector could not put research in the formal organizational structure of the university. So it had to be ad hoc. And he created the Research Coordinating Council with the help of Dr. Generoso Basa, a medical faculty connected with the Philippine Council for Health Research and Development. Father Castillo made me the secretary of the Research Coordinating Council. We had regular meetings with some of the senior faculty, mostly from the medical school. We held regular meetings and discussed research policies, potential structure of research, including research centers, manpower development, resource generation, and research management. I also prepared briefs for the professorial and research chairs for Father Castillo. But his term ended with research management still in an ad hoc capacity. The new rector, Father Rolando de la Rosa, also had his eyes set on research. When he appointed me as assistant, he gave me the title Assistant to the Rector for Academic Affairs, and he appended the word research. So I was Assistant to the Rector for Academic Affairs and Research, which means that the management of research at UST will fall under my office. It was the first step in incorporating research in the formal operation and organizational structure of UST. So I consolidated the work of the Research Coordinating Council, including the concepts of research councils, research centers, and the research policies. Father de la Rosa also envisioned a research building, which eventually became the Thomas Aquinas Research Complex, or TARC. He created a committee that will prepare the plans and operation of the building. When his second term of Father de la Rosa came, he wanted to retain me as his assistant. However, I recommended that it is time to separate research from the Office of Academic Affairs so I can concentrate on academic development. He did that exactly. So, the birth of the Office of Research, and he appointed Professor Beatriz Guevara as the Assistant to the Rector for Research. So going back to my first appointment at the Office of Academic Affairs, Father de la Rosa gave me a mandate that I could not forget. He asked me, why is it that whenever people talk about universities in the country, there is always that UP, Ateneo, De La Salle on the one hand, and on the other, there is UST and the rest. Why are we perceived as the leader of second-rate institutions, he asked. Well, I said, UST has very low research productivity, and our faculty members are not well known, except perhaps some medical doctors, considering that only 60% of the entire faculty have master's degree at the time, with very few PhD degree holders. We have brilliant people like, well, Dr. Johnny Torres, of course, who is board member of PCHRD, Ofelia Di Malanta, and Emerita Quito. But I call them flashes of brilliance and not really a product of sustained excellence in the university. I said classrooms were overflowing with students, and the faculty's full preoccupation was teaching. UST then was not associated with quality education. Then Father de la Rosa asked me, can we do something about that? I said, quality development is costly and it has its risk. Then Father de la Rosa said, just try. Let me take care of the cost. From that statement, the mandate of my office became crystal clear. Embark on a massive academic development program and take UST out of its reputation of being the leader of second-rate institutions. After doing literature research, I had a very exceptional advisor in my dissertation. She was a national scientist. So I learned my research well. But I could not practice it in science because I followed a path in administration. But I applied my skills in research in my administrative work. So I did literature search on what a university is and what are the essential components to make a quality university. So I focused the development of UST in 4 areas. One was the faculty development, mainly focused on mass scholarships for the acquisition of higher degrees. Second, reducing class size to improve the faculty-student ratio. Third is providing incentives for research and removal and amendment of hindering policies for the returning PhD faculty. And fourth, development of physical infrastructure that will support instruction and research. The deans were asked to encourage their faculty to apply for PhD scholarships abroad through the various embassies, such as the German Academic Exchange Program, the British Council, the USAID, Mombushu of Japan, and USAID of Australia. UST will pay the salary, the full salary of the faculty while on scholarship abroad. The science faculty benefited from the program because most of the scholarships available in the embassies are in the field of science, since the priority area for human capital development in the country is in the field of science and technology. Many of the faculty left for Australia, USA, UK, and Japan. And within the next 4 to 5 years, they returned with their PhDs. It was difficult to penetrate the German Academic Exchange Program, and no UST applicant was ever granted a scholarship until the German embassy invited me to become part of the selection committee for scholarships. That gave a window of opportunity for UST applicants. So now, if you look at the College of Science, many from chemistry and biology department are graduates of German embassies. Actually, I was heavily criticized by the general faculty for being biased to science because I come from science. But the crux of the matter is, unless there are opportunities for external support, like those of the embassies, we cannot fully subsidize foreign scholarships of the faculty. It would be too costly for UST. There were other opportunities, however, and they were mentioned by Dean Basco, like the partnership we had with UWA for the Master of Education program. 20 cohorts from across the colleges were given that scholarship, and some pursued their PhD. Many of those who completed that program became deans, faculty secretaries, principals, and directors. And then there was also, when I was already dean of the graduate school, a partnership with the University of South Australia for the delivery of the Masters in Physical Therapy program, because very few faculty in rehabilitation science had master's degree. Master's degree pa lang po ang pinag-uusapan natin noon, hindi pa PhD. So, 12 or 15 faculty, I think, from the College of Rehabilitation Science finished in that partnership program. And that substantially improved the profile of the Faculty of Rehabilitation Science. And more recently, at the Office of International Relations and Programs, I made arrangement with Seton Hall to deliver a Master in Professional Accountancy by distance to 10 of our faculty from the AMB College of Accountancy. I told Father Dagohoy that time, Father, sabi ko, mga estudyante po natin sa College of Accountancy, top-notchers lahat. But if you look at the credentials of the faculty, mahihiya ka kasi mga MBA graduates. So anong gagawin natin? Sabi ni Father Kati, we will have a program to be delivered by Seton Hall for a master's in professional accountancy. Sige, sabi ni Father. But Father, that's 10 million pesos, I said. So, tumahimik na lang siya. Pero, natuloy din naman yung program. And then eventually, we had, in the Faculty of Architecture, with the dual degree program with the University of Reading, 5 junior faculty finished their PhD. Also, I hope that the administration of the College of Architecture will take care and nurture this young PhD. So I hope nakabayad na ako ng utang sa faculty at hindi na nila sasabihin na science lang ang paborito ko. If I will make an accounting of the money infused by the university on faculty development, I'm sure it will run into hundreds of millions. But this approach on focusing on the acquisition of higher degrees by the faculty is essential for human development, human capital development, especially in creating research universities and in stimulating faculty productivity. So I hope UST will continue to do this. Faculty development must be planned, deliberate, focused, and monitored. It must be the constant duty of the Office of Academic Affairs to continuously improve the faculty profile, especially the PhD degree holders. Once this particular area of development is neglected, forget about research productivity and forget about ranking. Improving instructional standards was the second approach that I paid attention to on development. A respectable faculty-student ratio is a measure of quality instruction. So I drastically reduced class size from 60 to 45. A great upheaval took place, and one Spanish regent came barging into my office and looking crimson red, started telling me, "Don't you know that you will kill the university financially?" he said. Well, I gently told him that it is the mandate of my office to develop quality measures and that the financial implications of such measure will be borne by the rector and the finance department. I told him if we need creative finance people to cushion the effect of development measures. He never came back to my office. So in addition to reducing class size, I also disapproved practically all of the faculty overloads. I started with those who were frequently applying for sick leave, though the habitual absentees, and also those who were often tardy. I met initial resistance, but eventually all deans cooperated in reducing class size and faculty overload units. So in the early 1990s, we were witnessing a revolution in information and communication technology. The whole world was being connected through the global internet, and the Philippines as a country did not have any connectivity to it. In 1993, the PhilNet, now PHNet, was created with the support of the Department of Science and Technology, the Industrial Research Foundation, and the academic network of universities. Like in most cases, I was assigned by Father De La Rosa to represent UST in this government-industry academe collaboration for this particular project. I sat in a series of meetings for several months until it was time to get the commitment of the universities to set up their own intra- and interconnectivity. And when I told Father Rector the amount it will entail to put up the infrastructure, he looked at me and said, "Huh? Huh? That much?" Sabi niya. Well, actually, the Board of Trustees and the Economic Council approved the project. And one day, I just saw the chaos inside the campus with all the diggings, laying down the fiber optic cables, hubs, and routers to connect all the buildings. Since UST did not have the experts to manage the system, there were a lot of birthing pains until the system started to run smoothly. We sent two faculty from the Faculty of Engineering and ECE, Bea and Cecil, for training in PHNet as part of capacity building. We were actually learning hands-on, but this project was pivotal in the development of UST because it ushered the university to the limitless potential of digital technology. The library network was the other infrastructure that needed to be developed to support research and instruction. It was meant to have government support through the DOST Engineering and Science Education Project, with loan coming from the World Bank. The DOS-ESE project was designed to develop manpower, instructional, and research capabilities of 4 academic institutions: UP, Ateneo, La Salle, and UST. However, the share of UST in the development pie was very minimal because they accredited only our graduate program in chemistry, while all the other universities accredited 4 of their science programs: biology, chemistry, physics, and math. So why is that? Because we had no PhD degree holders in biology then, except Din Canapi, in physics and in math. So only chemistry was accredited. One big component of the project was the library automation and networking, aimed to achieve a widespread diffusion of skills in the use of IT in library services. 13 slots on short-term training of library personnel were availed of by the academic network institutions, but no USC personnel was trained thus far. We are often at the end of the queue for such opportunities. So I thought of making shortcuts in the development of the library. At that time, we were often visited by a research collaborator of the Natural Products Group of UST. He was Professor Jack Cannon of the University of Western Australia. I often hosted Jack for dinner whenever he visited UST. At one point in our conversation, Jack suggested that we elevate the collaboration to a more formal MOU between UST and UWA. So I was scheduled to go to UWA for the possible MOU signing. Before I left, I visited Richard Smith, the head of mission of the Australian Embassy, to inform him of my purpose in going to UWA, one of which is to seek assistance for the development of the library. Richard Smith wished me well and told me to report to him upon my return. When I arrived at Perth, I met the academics from the College of Education, in addition to Jack, who was graciously hosting me. Then came the moment to meet the Vice Chancellor for the possible MOU signing. The Vice Chancellor was very forthright, and she made it clear in no uncertain terms that Europe is the priority of Australia for academic collaboration. My heart felt, but it dawned on me that she was not ready to sign an MOU with Asian universities like UST. I felt a little humiliated, but I kept my composure and talked about the long and fruitful relationship of our 2 universities in the field of natural products research. In that meeting, I felt that Jack Cannon and Kit Punch of the College of Education were supporting me. But we left the office of the Vice Chancellor with no MOU. I stayed at UWA for a week and did my part in exploring the possibility of library assistant with Mr. Arthur Ellis, the chief librarian, to which he responded delightfully. I also looked into other areas for possible collaboration. In fact, Father Pinto, as head of the facilities department, and Dr. Marlene Mabini of planning, they went to UWA in order to observe the management of facilities there through our relationship. When it was time to me to go back, I was walking at the airport towards the departure gates when a colleague, Professor Kit Punch, came rushing towards me, handing me an envelope. It was the MOU signed by the Lady Vice Chancellor of UWA. So upon my return, I reported back to the head of mission of the Australian Embassy. He was delighted with the outcome of my visit to UWA, and he instructed me to submit a project proposal on the development of the USC library for possible funding support. In a year's time, several exchange visits had transpired between Father Aparicio and Arthur Ellis, and short-term training on library automation for our section librarians. A computer workstation was also installed in the main library of UST, courtesy of the Australian Embassy. This assistance accelerated UST's capacity to deliver IT services in the library. Actually, nagulat din yung ating mga colleagues sa UP, Ateneo at LaSalle, but nauna pa tayo dun sa workstation. And in 1997, 2 years before Father De La Rosa's term as rector and myself as his assistant would end, Asia Week compiled the first and only regional listing of Asia's best universities. The data requested was based on faculty qualifications, student per teacher ratio, research output, and data on internet access. When the results came out, there were 4 universities from the Philippines among the top: UP, Ateneo, LaSalle, and UST. So for the first time, UST is now clustered in the top tier and along the leader of second-rate institutions. My heart leapt with joy because it dawned on me that I had fulfilled the mandate of my office. Since then, UST has consistently maintained its position in the top chair in all university ranking system, even to this date. In fact, students would fondly call these 4 universities the Big Four whenever they are looking for a university to enroll in. In hindsight, the measure used by Asia Week in ranking the universities were exactly the development targets I initiated in the Office of Academic Affairs: mass scholarships for higher degrees to improve faculty qualifications, reducing class size to improve faculty-student ratio, development of internet infrastructure, and mainstreaming research in the operation of the university. The result of the Asia Week ranking of universities, coupled with the fact that USC was dominating the board exams in those years, and the triumphal campus atmosphere for winning championships, 5-peat in the UAAP basketball, the Pep Squad, and the Yellow Jacket Bangers. All of this were sealed the reputation of UST. It was a glorious moment to be at UST in those years, and I feel privileged that I was an active part of it. And as Brother Andrew of De La Salle, well, Brother Andrew and Father Niebles were good friends because I always sit with them in meeting. Father De La Rosa did not meet with them, he always sent me. But they appreciated me because I was their window to UST. So Brother Andrew's comment was, UST, a sleeping giant, has woken, and is raring to go forward. So, with that, it will be the last year of Father De La Rosa. So I took the opportunity to talk to him. And I said that I floated to him the idea that it was time to upgrade the title of Assistant Director for Academic Affairs. I based my recommendation on the nature of the representation that I made for him and for UST at the international level in IFCU, ICUSTA, SHACU, and also at the local level. He created a committee composed of Father Maximo Marina, the Secretary General, and the Regent of Loeb, Father Braulio Peña, and myself to make the recommendation official. The rest is history. I made the same recommendation to Father Herminio Dagohoy on the status of the Assistant Director for Research when I reviewed the research infrastructure and did some benchmarks with Asian universities for Father Dagohoy's administration. He reinstated the Office of Research and assigned Dr. Nonato as Assistant Director for Research. When I gave him the result of the benchmark and made the recommendation to upgrade the title, Father Dagohoy added the word innovation. And after a few months, she elevated Dr. Nonato to Vice Rector for Research and Innovation. This move was important because it made a statement on the importance of research in the function of the university. Back in 1998, Father Tamerlane Lana became the new rector, and he wanted me to stay on in the Office of Academic Affairs for the duration of his term. I, however, gently declined, knowing that the burden of responsibility on the projects that I undertook took a heavy toll on my health. I no longer can serve with the same energy and stamina as I used to have. But Father Lana asked me to stay on, at least until he can find my replacement. It practically took 2 years before he could release me from the office. Within those extended years, I faced 2 very big tasks. I chaired the organizing committee for the hosting of ASIACU by UST. ASIACU is the Association of Southeast and East Asian Catholic Colleges and Universities. In fact, I was there with ASIACU in its inception with Father Dan, the Jesuit, Father Dan Ross of Fuyan. We were the ones who originally prepared the ASIACU. And in many cases, I sat in the execom of ASIACU in the early years. And every year, there would be a meeting of presidents of ASIACU and thematic seminars for administrators. They had always wanted to have a student forum, but through the years, the student forum never materialized. It has always been on the agenda table. So when UST was going to host the ASIACU, I suggested to Father Lana that I will organize the student forum. And then he said, yes, that will be very good, he said. So I tapped the president of the Central Student Council, James Jimenez. You might know James Jimenez, the former spokesperson of COMELEC. James Jimenez was a law student at UST at the time. And James did a magnificent job in organizing the student forum. It was so successful in Caleruega that since then, ASIACU had made the student forum as a permanent feature in its yearly meetings. So that was one. The planning and organizing of the hosting of ASIACU by UST took much of my time and energy. The following year, we had a bigger problem, the CBA negotiation, with the faculty union on their economic benefit. Since I was still with academic affairs, I was made the chair of the management panel, and for several months, we had to go through grueling meetings, sometimes adversarial, until we arrived at a stalemate because of two unresolved issues. So the treasurer then, Father Bobby Pinto, said, I will dissolve the management panel. Tayong dalawa na lang ang makipag-usap sa kanila. So it was just the two of us, Father Pinto and myself, negotiating with 12 officers of the union. It was a marathon meeting from 8 a.m. up to 10 p.m. in the evening. We were able to resolve some. And at midnight, Father Pinto and I drove to Calaruega to join the administrators in their research. But to my surprise, the following week, when the CBA agreement was to be signed, Father Lana and even Father Pinto did not want to sign the agreement upon the advice of the legal counsel. My heart fell. I said, I wasted a lot of time in this meeting. It was so stressful, and it was so grueling. And I said, ganun na lang bang mangyayari? So in my boldness, I told Father Lana and Father Pinto, if you're going to empower me and give me the authority to sign for UST, I will sign the agreement kahit makalaboso ako. Sabi ko, because they did not want the fathers to sign because there were two unions at the time. The union led by Dr. Gamilla and the one led by Attorney Marino. We negotiated with Dr. Gamilla, and they were afraid that Attorney Marino will sue. So I signed the agreement. So if you look at that document, it is my signature that appears for USD. The faculty were happy to receive their benefit, and no suit or legal suit ever followed. And that, the CBA negotiation was the last straw in my work at academic affairs. The grueling negotiations have severely affected my health. So I had a heart-to-heart talk with Father Lana. Iinom lang po ako sandali. So Father Lana released me from the academic affairs with the caveat that I will be transferred to the graduate school as dean. But I could not assume the deanship right away because of internal problems among the fathers. So Father Lana told me that the regents would want you to go to Harvard, he said, to take up a course in management. I told him I could not leave the country, Father, because my daughter is about to give birth. And she and her husband are deep in their hospital residency. So I cannot leave. So instead, I enrolled at AIM for a management course. After 6 months, Father Lana recalled me and asked me to assume the deanship immediately. I had some mixed feelings in my appointment at the graduate school, with apologies to the faculty. I was 52 years old at the time, and the almost 60% of the faculty were septuagenarians and octogenarians. True enough, in my first 6 months in the office, I could see many of the faculty walking with a limp or a cane. Yung iba nanunulay pa sa pader. Then, there were dentures falling off, and some faculty dozing off during classes. Students were presenting reports using cartolina paper when it was already the age of laptops and iPads. Groups of students would march into my office complaining of the faculty. The business students do not want bogus PhDs. They wanted practitioners with industry experience. A literature major was complaining that when she was presenting her report on Shakespeare's Taming of the Shrew, her teacher dozed off, and when she suddenly awoke, she asked, "So what happened to Hamlet?" The big challenge to me then was to recruit younger and more dynamic faculty with varied academic, research, and industry experience, and to retire the non-performing members of the faculty. Retiring the faculty was met with resistance. Some would tell me that teaching in the graduate school was their only source of income in their old age, and that broke my heart. I vividly recall the words of my former dean, Father Swanepoel. He told me one time, "Lilian," he said, "be careful in getting new faculty. The graduate school is not the milking cow of retired people." Well, Father Swanepoel was Belgian, very Western in his style, and very forthright. Some faculty would write nasty letters to the rector, complaining about my move of retiring them. One letter was even signed by all her children who graduated from UST. But I stood my ground, and it took a cycle of 3 years to improve the faculty profile of the graduate school. I also saw a changing demographics of graduate students from middle-aged groups to young graduates and young professionals. With the faculty problem resolved, my second and third term in the graduate school saw the addition of graduate programs, the establishment of centers, the hosting of international conferences, and the expansion of student activities to include internationalization. Internationalization at USC was born in the graduate school. Kaya siguro nila ako ginawang director. So the first internationalization activity we had was a trip to Europe arranged by the consultant at the Asian Development Bank. We had some faculty from ADB teaching at graduate school at the time. The students were given lectures at the International Court of Justice at The Hague, the European Commission in Brussels, and the Exim Bank in Luxembourg, and the École HEC Business School in Paris. That trip was followed by several other trips in Japan and other parts of Asia arranged by the various classes themselves. So kahit kinocomplain ako ng faculty, I still receive my second reappointment and third reappointment. So at the start of my third reappointment, I was summoned by Father de la Rosa, who was recycled as a rector for a third term. To my surprise, he asked me what our plans were for the research building. That was when research was still under academic affairs. I told him that the proposal of the committee then was for the building to house both the research centers and the graduate school. Then he told me, "Do it. Transfer the graduate school to the TAR." I said this would need major renovation in the building, and it would be very costly, I said. He again said, "Just do it, and let me take care of the cost." Mahilig kasi sa tagline ng Nike si Father, "Just do it." Okay, bahala na. Oh. So the reason for this was when the TARC building was constructed, the original plans were not followed, and there were rooms reserved to house expensive instruments like NMR and mass spectrophotometry. And there was also a portion for manufacturing for the engineering group, and a product development area for pharmacy researches. Well, this is fine, except that there was no roadmap on how the instruments can be acquired, and there was no roadmap in the development of the engineering researching faculty and no roadmap for the development of the pharmacy researches. So for several years, the whole building was underutilized. 50% lang ang nagpa-function hanggang sa binahayar na siya ng mga paniki. And this got the ire of the regents, and their ire fell on the rector, Father de la Rosa, because the building was his idea. Kaya nung pinatawag niya ako, he wanted me to immediately transfer the graduate school to the TAR, which I did actually. The frustrated architect in me started working with the contractors to design the classrooms, the workshop rooms, boardrooms, meeting. And in less than a year, some 2,000 students were holding classes in the TARC building, and the building came alive. So I hope that the university will continue to take care of the graduate school and give it the dignity it deserves. It is the graduate school that makes UST a university. If you have plans of vertically articulating it, think again. You will be spreading or multiplying the losses of the graduate school at UST. In my honest opinion, you can only vertically articulate the graduate programs once the entire resident faculty profile reaches 70%, with high research productivity of the faculty. If your model is UP, look at their faculty profile and research productivity. Tapatan nyo yan, then you can vertically articulate. So, my suggestion is embark on a massive scholarship program for the acquisition of PhD to improve faculty qualification and stimulate research productivity. So you can vertically articulate. And the first step in introducing reform, especially structural reforms, is development. If you are thinking of gradually vertically articulating, starting with the academic units that are already ready, you will only create chaos in the management of graduate programs. I am expressing this opinion born out of my 7 years experience as faculty secretary and 13 years experience as dean of the graduate school, 20 years of managing graduate programs. I believe that all the So I have always been forthright and honest with the fathers I work with, and I've always spoken the truth, no matter how uncomfortable the truth was. So going back, while dean of the graduate school, I know that pretty soon I will be retiring from work. I thought that I have given UST much of myself already, and it was time to think of my own career and personal involvement in my retirement years. So I was searching for advocacy as a way of giving back to society. Eventually, I got myself involved in Religions for Peace, whose charism is interreligious dialogue. And I think my involvement there has already been mentioned by Dean Basco. But we focus our humanitarian work in Mindanao among the displaced children and women displaced by the conflict. And we rehabilitated them through the psychotrauma clinic of the graduate school. We even befriended the Muslim rebels. They allowed us inside their Camp Darapanan, kahit maraming usi yung mga nakatutok sa amin. And we also debriefed even the soldiers of the command officers of the 6th Infantry Division in Central Mindanao. All this work caught the eye of Religions for Peace New York and the United Nations. And I received invitations left and right to share good practices, one of which was the Alliance of Civilization of the United Nations held in Rio de Janeiro, and also the Women Group of the United Nations. In addition to the humanitarian work, I co-founded with Father Sebastian de Ambra of the Silsila Movement, the Uni Harmony Partners Philippines, a coalition of 25 faith-based organizations engaged in interreligious dialogue. It was my work in Religions for Peace that the Catholic Bishops' Conference of the Philippines recommended me to the Vatican for a personal audience with Pope Francis when he visited in the Philippines in 2015. So before my fourth term in graduate school ended, a new rector was installed, Father Herminio Dagohoy. He requested me to do a feasibility study of the branch campus in Santa Rosa, which I did with committee support. In 6 months' time, we were able to present this to the council. In 2013, I reached the retirement age of 65, and my deanship ended with retirement. But instead of retiring me, Father Dagohoy offered me several things. Research, the Office for External Affairs, which I declined. Well, I kept on declining because I knew that I no longer had the energy for those kind of work, embark on new things. But there was one thing I could not resist when he offered me the Office of International Relations and Program. And when he said, "You create the office," he said, well, I was delighted because it's a new challenge, it's a new thing, it's something that is exciting. And so I did. And now we're going 10 years in the Office of International Relations and Programs. And we have a new building at the courtyard of the main building, which Father Chong calls the UN Office of USD. So right now, I am building its garden. It's my way of relaxing and a reason to go to USD. So I gave you a glimpse of my work at USD. It was a joyful professional journey in the university. It gave me varied experiences. I've traveled far and wide, practically more than 100 trips outside the country, from the gilded stairwells leading to the Clementine Hall of the Vatican, to the halls of the International Court of Justice, to lunch hosted by magnates in the fabulous mansion along the Bosphorus Strait, and to many others. But I also saw the hinterlands and the uplands here. I ate with soldiers in their barracks and with the rebel soldiers. I slept with the displaced children and women of Mindanao. In addition to my travels, I shook hands with the popes, all the 3 popes, the cardinals, bishops, prime ministers, presidents, first ladies, queens, princesses, Nobel Prize winners, and even rebel soldiers. I was in constant interaction with visionary leaders in education through high-level meetings, both at the international and local levels. The sum of these experiences have shaped my character, the values I espouse, and my disposition in life. What I have achieved at UST would not have been possible if it were not for the support of the Dominican Fathers, especially the rectors and the top administrative officials. Their trust and confidence in my ability to do things for UST, but most of all, their spiritual gifts. They officiated in the wedding of my daughter, christened my grandchildren, blessed and said Mass in the wake of my parents and my late husband, and even Father de Mesa went with us all the way to the cemetery to give the final blessing before we laid my father to rest. Father de la Rosa gave a scholarship grant to my daughter in the Faculty of Medicine. And I thank the Father most of all for their friendship and spiritual guidance. Truly, I am grateful. Then, too, I could not have successfully done my work Well, if it were not for the assistance of my junior officers and non-academic staff who worked with me in the various offices I was assigned to Dr. Edith Fernandez, who ably handled faculty evaluation at the Office of Academic Affairs, to the late Dr. Emmanuel Galang, whose mastery of the university statutes, faculty code, and CBA made handling disputes manageable, to my non-academic staff at the Office of Academic Affairs, Jimmy, Rita, and Renz, for their understanding and patience with me, especially during difficult moments in the office. And over the graduate school, the formidable Michael Vasco, who was my faculty secretary for 9 years. We were lunch mates at the office. His discipline is philosophy, while mine is science. Yet we saw the complete meeting of minds and the blending of ideas. To his successor, Dr. Carol Castana, whose motherly approach was appreciated by the students. To my research directors, Dr. Cristina Binag and Dr. Carlos Garcia, for their creative ways in handling theses and dissertations. To my director, the CCC Pet, who've been traveling around in the LGUs. To Johnny Decatoria and Dr. Renzo Gao of the Psychotrauma Clinic, and to Delphine Jacob and Annette Ward of the Center for Continuing Professional Education. To all my non-academic staff at the graduate school, Irene, Herbert, Linoy, Jack, Johannes, Rowena, Beverly, and Aaron. And finally, to my staff at the Office of Research of International Relations, Anton and Janine, and to my able associate, Dr. Karen Santiago, who practically runs the operations of the office now. I thank, too, Dr. Pablito Baybalo, Jr., for assisting me in Religions for Peace. I also would like to acknowledge Dean Pilar Romero and Professor Evelyn Sonko, with whom I worked well when I was with the Academic Affairs Office. We achieved much because we were a team. Thank you, everyone, for your kindred spirit, for your kindness, for generously sharing your time and expertise, for being forthright and objective, but most of all, for your patience and understanding, for I know I have a reputation for my temper. I thank, too, my colleagues in the chemistry department who have been a great part of my life. They are my anchor and my first love. So, Reverend Father Magnificus, Father Richard, with a grateful heart, I accept the honor conferred upon me this morning. I am deeply humbled, and I dedicate this honor to my family, my daughter Christine and her husband Alan, to my grandchildren Ram and Nina, to my sister Cora and brother Jose, and their families, and most of all, to the memory of my late husband, Ramon Sison, who did most of the sacrifice when there was conflict between work and family. 54 years of professional journey at UST was a joyful experience, inspired by my family and the patronage of the Blessed Mother. If I were to look back in time and meet my 20-year-old self, what advice will I give her? Remember, I was just an average student when I was in college. I never graduated with laude honors. And yet today, I am receiving this honor of Dean Emeritus. So what can I tell you, young kids? Based on my life experiences, believe in yourself. You can do anything if you put hard work into it. Continue reading and learning, and be kind to all in manners and action. Finally, heed what St. Paul wrote in his letter to the Romans. Whatever you do, do it for the greater glory of God. So when my time comes, and I would be knocking at the door of St. Peter, and then he would ask me, what did you do with the talents that God gave you? I'll just show him my method. Maraming salamat po.
Maraming salamat po, Dean Emeritus Sison. Please be seated for a while. Now we have come to the conclusion of this momentous ceremony. On behalf of the Dominican Province of the Philippines, the University of Santo Tomas expresses her warmest gratitude to all of you and to all who have brought this event to fruition, especially the Central Committee on University Events, the UST Graduate School, the UST College of Science, the UST Junior High School, and our event director, Associate Professor Antonio P. Aprica, PhD, and his team. We commence this event with a prayer. We shall conclude with a prayer. We all rise for the hymn of the University of Santo Tomas.
We have now come to the conclusion of the ceremony. Before we invite everyone to the reception, we ask everyone to be seated first as we announce the sequence for the photo opportunity. The sequence is as follows. First, our honoree with the executive authorities of UST, followed by the Dominican Fathers, then the academic officials, followed by the administrative officials, then the graduate school officials and program leads, as well as university-level directors, the graduate school academic staff,